The January transfer window. It's your last opportunity to make that final tweak to your squad that could be so decisive moving forward. What we are going to do on this video is explore every single Premier League team's best, but also most realistic January signing. Let's get into it. So the only place to start here is obviously Arsenal. Arsenal are in a situation where they have missed out on their main target. Through a weird transfer policy adopted by my club, Chelsea, Arsenal have missed out on Mykhailo Mudryk. So it's almost back to the drawing board. What do they need to do? Where do they go from here? I think what they need to do is stick to what they have identified as being the problem in Mudryk and find a solution to that. Effectively, what they need is cover. Someone who can provide competition for Bukayo Saka, competition for Gabriel Martinelli, but also play alongside Bukayo Saka, play alongside Martinelli. Somebody who is comfortable both through the middle to replace Gabriel Jesus, but also on the sideline. Somebody that can play with and compete for positions with the stalwarts of this Arsenal team. Off the back of the injury sustained by Gabriel Jesus in the Brazil-Cameroon game, they are also without the recognised number 9. So somebody that can play that position is crucial because Eddie Nketiah, while he is leading the line with aplomb, I think it would be a shrewd move to bring somebody in to share the goal burden. So what we're looking for here is somebody who can play on either wing, somebody who can play through the middle, and somebody who has Premier League experience. Obvious, isn't it? I'll give you 1 second to think. Who am I thinking of? Ferran Torres. Torres has done it in the Premier League before. He can play across that front line, and we know that Mikel Arteta is a big fan of his. The only issue with signing Ferran Torres is Ferran Torres himself. So Ferran Torres has only just got to Barcelona, so it's fair to assume that his preference will be to stay there. Also, playing for a club like Barcelona, despite the financial turmoil, the perilous situation that the club's finances are in, if you are a footballer plying their trade at the Nou Camp, that is a dream come true. So it's going to be difficult for Arsenal to prize Ferran Torres out of the clutches of Barcelona, but effectively, the onus has to be on them to make Torres and Barcelona an offer that they can't refuse. Another player who I think Arsenal could look at, who has all of the above in terms of the criteria that we set out for what Arsenal need, has all of the above. Played in the Premier League, can do it on either flank, is a proven goal scorer. Rafinha. You know, Barcelona are in a terrible situation financially. Rafinha won't want to leave, I'm sure, but I think it's something for Arsenal to monitor. For Aston Villa, I think they need replenishments in the midfield, and signing a player who has already linked up successfully with Unai Emery would be an excellent move in this January transfer window. The answer here would be reuniting Matteo Guendouzi with Unai Emery. It was a matchup that was very successful when they were at Arsenal together, and there is no reason why Matteo Guendouzi couldn't do the business in the Premier League again. I think he's a very good player. I think he would have learnt from some mistakes. I think he's more mature than he once was. And leaving Marseille and heading to Birmingham, following in the footsteps of Boubacar Kamara. I think that this one could really work, and actually can see this one happening. This is quite a realistic possibility, I believe. Guendouzi's a class player. You know, a proper box-to-box midfielder. Has an eye for a goal, plays for France, decent on the assist, very good in a tackle. And yes, I know it didn't go well for him with Mikel Arteta. I think Mikel Arteta actually cast him adrift. But I think Guendouzi has learnt since then. I think he's improved since then. And linking up with Unai Emery could be just what he needs individually as well. I also think that he elevates the midfield quite significantly. Look, Douglas Luiz, John McGinn, Jacob Ramsey, they're all very good players, but over recent times have been fairly inconsistent. Bringing in Guendouzi to add competition, to add experience to that midfield could be exactly what they need. Just think of Guendouzi's natural aggression and competitiveness. It would be adored by the whole end. Bournemouth now, and I think it's so obvious they need a goal scorer. They haven't scored a goal in their last 4 games, so rectifying that problem is essential if they have any hope of survival. And I think the answer is potentially Arnaud Danjuma. Whether they can get him is going to be very difficult though, because I think Aston Villa, the club that we just discussed, will be monitoring his situation. And effectively, from Danjuma's perspective, signing for Bournemouth, yes, his goals could go a long way to keeping Bournemouth in the Premier League, but I also think that Bournemouth are going to go down with or without Danjuma. And therefore, if you were Danjuma himself, maybe you think twice about this. From Bournemouth's perspective, though, a goal scorer, and Danjuma could be the perfect fit. Brentford have already got it right. Is there a better run club in this country than Brentford Football Club? They get it so right so often. Thomas Frank interwoven into the fabric that is Brentford FC, and they have already done exactly what they needed to do. Signing Kevin Schade from Freiburg on loan with the option to buy for 25 million quid is the perfect tonic this winter window. It's exactly what they needed. Crucially, they have cover for Ivan Toney. Ivan Toney is elite, but is potentially going to be banned. So the fact that Brentford have acted so decisively to rectify the one gaping hole in their squad if Ivan Toney is banned is impressive. Fair play to Brentford. They need nothing more. I think Brighton need to sign Levi Colwill. I am desperately anti this. There is no way that Chelsea should allow a player of Levi Colwill's quality to leave. Levi Colwill will be playing for England in Germany in 18 months' time. I truly believe that. But if you're Colwill, you'd have some serious questions. Chelsea signed Marc Cucurella. Part of the reason that Chelsea were ready to spend so much money on Marc Cucurella, idiotically, was because Cucurella was able to be deployed both as a fullback and a left centre-half. Then, Chelsea went and signed Benoit Badiashile. So, there are two players who are capable of playing that left-sided centre-half that Levi Colwill will be eyeing up ahead of Colwill, you presume. So this is troubling from a Chelsea fan's perspective. I think Colwill will now be thinking about his future aspirations, his future options, and it's going very well with De Zerbi. There were times, weren't there, when we'd speak about Brighton and you'd say, if they just had a goal scorer, it could be so different for them. They now score goals for fun. Colwill is looking fantastic, and there are channels between Chelsea and Brighton. Gilmour obviously has gone in that direction. Everybody else has come in the other direction, including the kitchen sink. So, I think Brighton need to sign Levi Colwill, but it pains me to even say those words up on this video. Chelsea need to sign a midfielder. Please sign a midfielder. Todd Boehly, please be sensible. Think about your spending and please sign a central midfielder. Enzo Fernandez was so close to being over the line, and for one reason or another, that one has not materialised. This is so problematic. The lack of strength in Chelsea's midfield is so symptomatic of everything going wrong at the club. It is a microcosm of everything wrong with the club. We haven't signed a top-tier central midfielder since 2018. We signed Kovacic and Jorginho in 2018, and they are still at the club. This is neglect. We also have a huge issue, the fact that Dennis Zakaria, who is, by the way, a long way from the best footballer in the world, but so important to us because he has presence and physicality, he is now injured. We must rectify our midfield woe. We have to do something. And what we do, I don't even care. Just please sign a central midfielder, whether it's Enzo Fernandez, whether it's Alexis McAllister, whether it's Caicedo, whether it's Declan Rice. I genuinely don't mind. Just please go out and make a statement signing in central midfield. Crystal Palace, I believe, should make a serious bid for Conor Gallagher. Look, I love Gallagher. I think he's a really good player, and I certainly don't want Chelsea to lose him. But the form that he displayed at Crystal Palace playing for Patrick Vieira was so impressive. He got an England call-up off the back of that, and Crystal Palace have massively missed his spark, his busy approach to the game, and his eye for a goal. I think Conor Gallagher could really benefit from a move to Crystal Palace. I think Crystal Palace could massively benefit from the move. And sadly, I can see Chelsea accepting this. For the first time, we have the same player named twice. Arnaud Danjuma. Everton obviously need goals. I mean, they need a lot, but they certainly need goals. They are so lacking in the firepower department. So signing Arnaud Danjuma could be exactly what they need. They have never managed to replace the fight and the goals that were brought to them by Richarlison last season. Dominic Calvert-Lewin is inconsistent, shall we say. So, signing Danjuma could be exactly what they need. He has all of the elements that Lampard's team are missing. And Danjuma could be exactly what Everton need to get them away from that relegation zone. I think Fulham need to sign Cedric from Arsenal. You know, Cedric will not get a game at Arsenal this season. He's behind Tomiyasu, he's behind Ben White, and Arsenal are flying without him. Cedric's a good player. Not good enough for Arsenal, but he's certainly a good player, and I think he can definitely do a job in the Premier League. So linking up with Marco Silva's team, who are playing fantastically well, could be exactly what Cedric Suarez needs. Leicester are so desperate for reinforcements, and I think it's so obvious what they need. They need a player with heart, spirit, aggression, tenacity, will to win, desperation to fight for the club badge. When I say those words, one player immediately springs to my mind. a player that I would like at Chelsea, because we are also lacking a lot of the qualities that I just suggested. It's obvious, isn't it? Sufyan Amrabat. People have short memories. He was immense in the World Cup. And if Leicester had a player like Amrabat, they would be moving swiftly up the table. I think Amrabat for Leicester is exactly what they need. And I tell you what, if Brendan Rodgers doesn't make it work, I really hope that Todd Bowley goes and gets Sufyan Amrabat. Geezer, love him. Now, I'm sticking with a theme here. I don't know if it's because I was in Qatar at the World Cup and I loved that Moroccan team, but I'm thinking about what Leeds United need. And I think Azzedine Ounahi could be exactly the kind of player that they need. Look, there is a lot going on at Leeds at the moment. You know, they've got that partnership with the San Francisco 49ers. It's as if Radratsani is taking a slightly more backseat role to allow the money to arrive from the States. They've already signed Jorginho Rutter, who's arrived from Hoffenheim. So now I think they need that little bit of sparkle, that dazzling footballer. And Azzedine Ounahi could be exactly what they need. The problem for Leeds is that Unahi's price tag's probably gone up about 30 million quid since the World Cup because he was such a jewel in the crown of that wonderful Moroccan side. The other issue is that Napoli are after him as well. So it's not going to be easy, but Leeds can make this work. They need to find room in their budget and they need to tap into this link that they have with the San Francisco 49ers. Liverpool, I'm not sure that there is an easier club to talk about with regard to what they need. They just so clearly need a midfielder. It's so obvious that Liverpool desperately need a midfielder. And the fact that they didn't sign Tchouaméni in the summer when they thought that it was over the line is the reason that they are in this mess. It's so easily rectified. I don't think there's a real problem at Liverpool. I think they bring in a midfielder and it's fine. It was never going to work. When they were playing James Milner central midfield with Harvey Elliott, that was never going to work. James Milner was playing Premier League football before Harvey Elliott was even born. It's a father and son combination. It's never going to work. But if they make it work this window, bring in a midfielder and stop trying to rely on the likes of Keita, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Milner, it isn't quite right. Arthur Melo, whatever happened there? I think that they simply need to sign a midfielder, and it doesn't really matter who it is. For the sake of this, Caicedo, Manchester City. It's amazing the situation that they are in, but I think they do need reinforcements. And the reason that they need reinforcements is because Pep Guardiola made a huge, arrogant mistake. He allowed Zinchenko to leave. He allowed Zinchenko not only to leave, but to leave, to play for Arsenal, to strengthen a rival, to give that club a platform to launch a serious and sustained bid for the Premier League title. Pep Guardiola should have never allowed Zinchenko to leave. He especially never should allow Zinchenko to leave if they don't sign a replacement. Cancelo is terribly out of form. Nathan Ake is a good but not a great player. And Manchester City are a team that need to be full of great players to play that intense, difficult, perfect style of Guardiola football. You need to be elite. And Nathan Ake is not elite. So they need to sign a left back who, it's very difficult. I'm thinking potentially Rico Henry. He helps them with their homegrown quota, but it's difficult. And this is so frustrating, I imagine, for Man City fans, because this is a problem of their own making. They had Zinchenko. He's perfect. Manchester United. How well has Eric Ten Hag done in that job? It's mind-blowing quite how well he has done, because Manchester United are currently in a title race. Who would have thought that were possible prior to the season starting? Very impressive from Ten Hag. I think it's quite obvious where they need replenishments. I just don't think it's quite obvious who. They need a new centre forward. You know, they've signed Wout Weghorst. That's a good signing, but it isn't the signing that is going to be the one that they launch next season upon. So if they can make a move now, I think it would be sensible. Who is difficult though? Victor Osimhen, maybe. Tammy Abraham, maybe. Marcus Thuram, maybe. It's weird though, isn't it? There isn't the obvious standout signing. Like, you know, over the years, there was the obvious player for Manchester United to sign, and they would go and do that. Whether it were Wayne Rooney, whether it were Carlos Tevez, whether it were Dwight York, whether it were Andy Cole, they were always the obvious. There isn't that standout candidate yet. So I wonder if that's why they've opted into signing Wouty Weghorst to wait for the perfect opportunity to arrive. Maybe Manchester United have done their business. Wouty until the end of the season, that's it. Now, Newcastle United need to strengthen their midfield. John Joe Shelby's out. They only have now 4 fit midfielders, and that isn't going to work. The intensity that Eddie Howe likes to play with it's a prerequisite that you have top tier midfielders. So the obvious signings would be maybe Tielemans, maybe Ruben Neves would be a great signing, but I think that they should be a little bit more ambitious. I think that they need to add some sparkle, some dazzle, some Hollywood to that squad. Like, do you remember when the money first came in and they were talking about signing Neymar? And they didn't do that. They went very sensible. They signed Dan Burn and they signed Nick Pope and they signed Kieran Trippier. It was very impressive strategy. I liked it. But now they are going to be playing in the Champions League next year, I believe. I think they need a little bit of glamour, a little bit of Hollywood. And I think that they should sign James Maddison. James Maddison would be perfect on Tyneside. The Gallagher end would love him. We know that he's a top-class player. He's actually borderline elite. And playing for Eddie Howe alongside the likes of Joe Linton and Alexander Isaac, I think it could just bring the best out in him. He's a class act, has a brilliant eye for a goal, has been a one-man team a lot of this season for Leicester, deserved more chances for England. Give him an opportunity, Eddie. He will not let you down. Nottingham Forest. Now, on one level, I think Nottingham Forest need a lot of fresh faces because they're not very good. I think they are going to go down. But I think the last thing they should do is sign any more players. I think what they have to do is make it work with what they've got, because bringing in yet more players for Forest will not end well. Southampton are going to go for Daizen Maeda, I believe. The Celtic player has been in dazzling form. He was a top goal scorer in the J-League, and I think that it is the sort of signing that Southampton should make. Ange Postecoglou loves him and will want to hold on to him, but it could be very difficult. There's a clear pathway, isn't there, from Celtic to Southampton? If you think about it, Victor Wanyama, Virgil van Dijk, Stuart Armstrong, they've all moved from Celtic to Southampton and have flourished. I heard Ali McCoy's talking about Maeda recently, and he said that he was absolutely unbelievable. Tottenham Hotspur need a goalkeeper. Tottenham Hotspur need to sign a goalkeeper today. They need to get themselves into a situation where Hugo Lloris cannot cost them any more points. De Gea is one of the worst goalkeepers in the league. He is one of the worst goalkeepers in the league. All the talk about him winning the World Cup is so irrelevant. He costs that club time and time again. Look at that game against Arsenal. Just use that as a case study. If you swap keepers in that game, you swap results. And Antonio Conte, there is nothing he can do from the sideline if Hugo Lloris is basically going to shovel one in when Bukayo Saka puts it straight into his arms. There is no reason for Tottenham to continue playing football unless they sort out the calamity that is Hugo Lloris. Get rid now. Pickford, Sanchez, Meslier, it doesn't matter. Oblak, just go and sign a new goalkeeper this window, Tottenham. That is a prerequisite. That is the only thing that you need to worry about. West Ham United need a new manager. It's as simple as that. David Moyes has got it so wrong. He cannot handle the pressure of that club. Do you know what I saw? I saw a list of the clubs that West Ham United beat in the year 2022. The list of teams that they beat. There weren't many on the list. The best team that they beat, Aston Villa. You know, they beat Norwich twice. They beat Burnley twice. They really did not win any significant fixtures, any significant matchups last year. And it's actually been going wrong at West Ham for a long time. Hindsight has taught us that. I thought that David Moyes did a very good job on that European run, but it actually papered over the cracks. David Moyes needs to leave in this window. He is going to take West Ham United down. He cannot get the best out of their excellent players. Scamacca can't get the best out of him. Paqueta can't get the best out of him. Sebastian Haller, look at that. Geezer can't stop scoring. Top tier footballer. And David Moyes could not get him playing football. He needs to leave that club. Otherwise, West Ham United are going to go down. I think we always focus on the players, don't we? We always focus on who could be a beneficial signing. But getting David Moyes out of that club is the priority. I believe that Wolves are going to be just fine. They need to make sure of it, but I do honestly believe that Wolverhampton Wanderers are going to be just fine. Julian Lopetegui taking charge there was an astute, switched-on, clever move. He's a good manager. He's a very good manager. And we've already seen the performances of Wolverhampton Wanderers elevate massively since his arrival. So they need to get it right. And I think signing a defender, a proven Premier League quality defender, maybe a right-back, could be the exact tonic for that club. You know, we know they don't score enough goals, but I think Lopetegui can sort that out and is well on course for doing that. So it's about shoring it up at the back. Potentially Wan-Bissaka, Aaron Wan-Bissaka to Wolves. I could see that being a good signing, but keeping hold of their good players is essential. Keeping hold of Podence, keeping hold of Neves, and if they can add somebody like Wan-Bissaka, I think they will be fine. The links to Fosun, the Chinese company who have a lot of money, will stand them in good stead. The friendship that they have with George Mendes will certainly be beneficial. And Lopetegui is such a good manager. They're going to be just fine. Wan-Bissaka though, why not? So that concludes it. I have now gone through every single Premier League team and I have decided what I think they need in this window. What I would love for you to do is comment below. Let me know. Do you agree with my suggestions? Have I missed anyone out that you think is an obvious signing for a particular club? And as always, thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please give it a like, and it would be my honour to welcome you into this community. So please click that subscriber button. Have yourself a wonderful day. Ta-da.